Yeah, I don't know if
Quick
that.
question for you. So I appreciate this is going to be like very organization specific, but if you look at, and let's use that you kind of using the blanket term of contingent labor to cover the contracting side and the
Yeah.
service procurement side. So if you take that bracket, in most organizations, do you think that is likely to be more effectively kind of controlled or centralized under procurement or under HRTA? And obviously, it depends how the organization is structured. But if we generalize about it, do
Hmm.
you think that is something that who should be leading this? Because that's something that comes up a lot at the conferences and stuff that we discuss. And people go all over the place with it. But you mentioned the fact that you wouldn't necessarily have had the agility and the decision making process to do the change management under HR. And HR has a much broader range of responsibilities. Do you think it's more effective for that to be controlled under procurement or HR?
I'm going to say 100%. I still look at my HR department. They're not where they're not up on the contingent labor side. They really don't understand it. And I don't think it's just it's not just Western Union. I think that's across the board. It's not their wheelhouse. And if you're having to go to procurement from a contractual standpoint, anyway, to me, it makes complete sense. I think even leading this type of program with procurement background is super important because you understand how it all fits together. It's not only just, procurement doing this. I am so tight with legal in my company. That was part of, the buy-in from a business case as well. But I utilize our internal legal team all the time. I mean, all the time. Um, Finance was a big part of this. I mean, we had at the time in procurement, we reported to the COO. So we were under operations at the time. We've only been under the CFO for like the last 6 months. But that was, at the time kind of important because there was more of the process piece that took place in the standards and there was a lot of focus on the customer service. It was like a journey. And now we're under the, CFO and I feel like I'm pushing metrics and I'm pushing performance and I'm pushing the financial side of it. And it's kind of evolved just perfectly, in my opinion. I do. I think it can sit either place depending on talent in your HR, like what their skill sets are. Not that they're bad or good, but what their skill sets are. But if you want to do something strategic and transformational, I think you have to be in procurement. I just absolutely believe that. It's about the money, but it's also about the tools. It's about the metrics. It's about the performance. There's a lot more going on there, I feel like, from a skill set perspective and how you partner with the rest of the business.
Yeah, I think it comes back to I made some notes about kind of when you were talking about working at Chipotle and that kind of startup mentality and having that kind of, more of a kind of, broad spectrum of experience and skill sets that you built up. Because in a startup and a scale up, you end up getting, if you're a smart person, people go, hey, can you make this happen? Hey, can you make that happen?
Hmm.
Go and talk to these
Hmm.
guys, go and talk to those guys, make it all
Absolutely.
work. That's the great bit that gets everyone fired up, and it's the bit that makes you feel tired as well.
Yes,
So it's not for
exactly.
everybody.
You got to
Not
be
for
careful what
everybody.
you wish for.
Exactly. But it's, you bring a pragmatic approach, you like to move fast. All of those things tie into that. And I was going to ask you kind of like what skills do you think brought most value from that startup life? But I feel like it's having the ability to be flexible and to deal with those different stakeholders. And HR to do you don't necessarily need a startup mentality to be good at HR. To be good at HR, you need to be empathetic. You need to be strategic in how you think about people and
Hmm.
capacity and all these sorts of things and careers and changing with skill requirements. There's a lot to it.
Hmm.
But procurement is very different. And that's where it always fascinates me because people come to procurement, people come to HR quite often from an HR background, HR qualifications training, all that way through. Procurement, people are coming in from all different angles, and it's like a bit of a get stuff done department, but only if it is. Otherwise, it can be a real underachieving department where people are just kind of
Absolutely.
sitting there and being the police. So I think the thing that, just to round up what I'm getting at, is I think the fundamental thing that people like yourself bring to this is a business approach, where you're thinking about the business and you're thinking about, and that's where I think strategic procurement can be enormously strategic in terms
Mhm.
of what does the business want to achieve. We're a kind of, we're here and we're a kind of fixer, and we're an interface between the internal world and the external world of getting stuff done and buying what we need. That's very pragmatic. And if you've got a business-like approach to it, you have to be able to interface with all these different departments, really. And I think, do you feel like that was a benefit coming from that world?
Absolutely. And you just sparked something that I would love to share, which is, and I'm going to go back to where I said I did it. I hired the 9 people and I did it in 30 days.
Wow.
Um, yeah, in very short conversations. But what I want to say about that and why I'm mentioning it, not so much about the timing, but about the skills I brought in to the team. Because what you were saying is like, so I'm resonating with it, right? Like I have a vast background. My right-hand person, technical background too. She's, we grew up at Chipotle, but she came over and we've utilized our skill set from moving fast, going public, all the things, right? Understanding, you know, how to avoid risk in all of the change, how to manage people's behavior and all of the change, like how to get people on board and excited about things. Those are things that I think we brought to the table, but also I can't stress enough. Like I left Chipotle having like what I call an IT business team. And I'm going to say that because it was this weird model. And now I have this larger version of it in a weird way that sits in procurement and it does a lot of the same things and more. And so when I hired the people I hired, I had several internal candidates at my like analyst level. They got promotions, but they came from other parts of Western Union. So I brought in some Western Union knowledge at a very administrative tactical level, hoping to, grow them in their careers. And then from the leadership perspective, I brought in a program manager and a senior manager of my ops team that are that both have contingent labor background. They both have worked for MSPs. They both have, you know, no procurement experience, which is hilarious. One has a lot of HR experience, and I actually have one person at the intake level that's a senior analyst, and she came from the TA department in our HR department. So I, and I've talked about this in other, when I've spoken, at different times about this actual topic, because I didn't just bring in like, a whole bunch of contingent labor people to do the contingent labor. I brought in a vast variety of skill sets to get the job done. I had a vision of who needed to do what. I have 2 gentlemen that came outside the company for my data and analytics, but they're accounting and finance guys. So like I have really brought in a vast variety of skill sets to create this whole, and some of them didn't even know anything about this, about contingent labor, and services and procurement for that matter. Like none of them had ever sat in those departments. So I think it's from my experience, and that's all I can speak to. I think procurement makes a ton of sense. I think I consider myself lucky for inheriting this and being able to transform something in the way that I have, and bringing all these other people in, whether they liked it or don't like it. They all have the same mindset. They're driven, they're motivated, they're excited. My program manager, he's my biggest cheerleader. Like he's always, this is amazing what we're doing here, and I'm so excited to be a part of this. Like this is something nobody's doing, for example. I think people are doing it in different levels, but I think just being a part of it, it was super important to me to have a diverse group of people on this journey, and I do, and they're the ones that have made it happen.